My son hacked into the school system, and the superintendent made him IT director. The call came at 9:42 on a Wednesday morning while I was restocking inventory at the hardware store where I worked. My manager's voice cut through my phone. "Eleanor, you need to go. School emergency. They said it's urgent." I didn't ask questions. I grabbed my keys and ran to my car with my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. My son Caleb was 14, quiet, spent most of his time on his computer in his bedroom. He'd never been in trouble, never skipped class, never talked back to teachers. The worst thing he'd ever done was forget to take out the trash. I drove to Lincoln High School, breaking every speed limit and trying not to imagine what kind of emergency would require pulling a parent out of work in the middle of a Wednesday morning. The parking lot had 3 police cars and an unmarked sedan with government plates. My stomach dropped as I pulled into a spot with shaking hands. I walked through the front entrance on legs that felt disconnected from my body. The receptionist looked at me with an expression I couldn't read, pity mixed with something else, maybe fear. She directed me to the superintendent's conference room on the 3rd floor without making eye contact. I took the stairs because waiting for the elevator felt impossible. The conference room had a long table surrounded by people I didn't recognize. Superintendent Graves sat at the head looking grim. Next to him was a woman in a dark suit with FBI credentials clipped to her belt. 2 police officers stood by the windows. A man in an expensive suit that screamed lawyer sat reviewing documents. And at the far end of the table was Caleb. My 14-year-old son looked small and pale in a chair that seemed designed to swallow him. His eyes met mine and I saw terror there. I moved toward him automatically, but Superintendent Graves stood and gestured to the chair next to my son. "Mrs. Thornton, thank you for coming so quickly. We have a serious situation that requires your immediate attention." His voice was formal and cold. I sat down next to Caleb and took his hand under the table. It was ice cold and trembling. I asked what was happening and why my son was surrounded by law enforcement. The FBI agent introduced herself as Special Agent Reeves and explained in a measured tone that Caleb had been caught hacking into the school district's computer system. She said he'd gained unauthorized access to administrative databases, student records, financial systems, and confidential employee information. She added that federal computer fraud laws made this a serious crime that could result in juvenile detention and permanent damage to his future. The words hit me in waves: hacking, unauthorized access, federal crime, juvenile detention. I looked at Caleb, and he was staring at the table with tears rolling down his face. I asked him if this was true, and he nodded without looking up. Superintendent Graves took over the conversation and explained that the breach had been discovered that morning when the IT department noticed unusual activity on the network. They'd traced it back to Caleb's student login credentials and found evidence of extensive unauthorized access over the past 3 weeks. He said the district took cybersecurity very seriously and that this kind of violation couldn't be tolerated. The lawyer, whose name I never caught, started talking about liability and legal exposure and the need to make an example. I felt panic rising in my chest because this couldn't be happening. Caleb was a good kid. He helped elderly neighbors with their computers. He tutored other students in math. He'd never shown any interest in breaking rules or causing trouble. I asked why he would do something this reckless, and Caleb finally looked up at me with red eyes and said in a voice barely above a whisper, "I found something, Mom. Something really bad." The room went quiet. Special Agent Reeves leaned forward and asked Caleb to explain what he meant. Caleb's voice shook as he started talking. To see the full story, click the link below or go on my channel.